So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
PVO. Positive vibes on. This is the PVO show.
Okay, guys, it's time. And today is April 20, 2022. It's been a while, guys, since we've done this. 4 years, too long, and I've always made a promise. I've heard about it. I will pull the receipts later. That I was going to bring this back when it was time. And I guess today is the day.
It is. It's a holiday, too.
And so today I'm going to kick it off with a really cool guy. Someone that I kind of crossed paths during the pandemic, funny enough. And I think, honestly, we're probably like the only artists working at the time. Literally.
Yeah, it was a crazy period.
It was like, what, the second week of shutdown?
It was crazy because I had just gotten off, I've had a crazy history, but I'd worked a corporate job. The first time I had security in my life, I was like, sweet.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, guys. This is Will Bonvant. Is that my saying right?
I'm Will Von Bolton.
Von Bolton. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's cool.
Von Bolton. Oh. See, that's such a powerful stage name.
That's exactly what it is. A stage name. It said, my name is Will Andrew Bolton, but it's...
No, I do the same thing with DROSOL. My name is Pedro Solano. Yeah. Take the last three in the first.
I use it as an ego exercise. It's like, who do I want to be? I want to be Will Von Bolton. That's who I want to be.
You know what? You have to do that sometimes because you have to detach your own identity. And sometimes you have to come with an alter ego that is like that ego that executes.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do a lot of things. I'm a photographer, but I also help people brand and do identities. And that's what I was doing whenever I met you. I was doing a consulting gig with a hotel. And you were doing some murals, and you've also been involved with some other stuff. But yeah, that was an interesting time. But what branding though? What it is, it just asks the question, "Who are you?" You know what I mean? It's like somebody. But my neighbor, he's working on this amazing his last name's Wheel Lock, and his new company is called Wheels on Lock. It's so fucking, that's so great. And so he asked, what should his logo be? And it made me ask about 1,000 questions. I'm like, well, who's your target demographic? And who's your, it's like, who's going to be looking at matter. Yeah. And but it also makes you think about that whenever you think about that as your identity. And I think a lot of the things, because I also write, and my book's called Loophole to Happiness.
Check it out, guys.
It's like a 585 word operating system for your mind. But it's just
So let me before we get further into, let me remind everybody kind of what the PVO show is about. And if you know me and you know me growing up, I'm all about vibes, right? And I always tell people, if I don't like your vibe, I just don't talk to you, and vice versa. So the whole inception of the show was about just promoting positive vibes, but in the way my take is, I like to promote local talent in Dallas. And what I mean by talent, just anyone that's a creative or anyone that even an entrepreneur, just anyone that's basically doing their own thing and giving acknowledgement, because I feel like Dallas lacks that, and it's been lacking. I feel like we hype up other people and we forget about our own. And it's like, whoa, we got some cool people too. And so I like to take a moment and kind of just put myself in the back seat and let my guests and Will, and just let them tell you a little bit about themselves, what they're up to, because I feel like we need to be reminded what's going on. Because Dallas, there's a lot of cool stuff happening, but it's who are the people doing it? They're actually our own people. And I feel like we don't really talk about that, No,
I appreciate that. And, it's funny because it takes different people, we're a species of specialists is what I say, so it takes people like you to beg the questions, who are the people behind the Dallas creative scene? So I appreciate that, because,
for me, it's more of okay, we got a good community in the music scene. We have the art scene, the dance scene, and not, and it's blended in with all this money and, this crazy, populated city that just keeps getting populated, and somehow it works, right? It works, and we have a lot of cool shit, but we don't know why or how we got there, right? How many times I could tell you about projects that I've done that you would think people would know and they just didn't even know.
Yeah.
Because whoever was in charge or the client was, yeah, it's me. It's like, bitch, who'd you hire? Like, you know?
Yes.
So like, Will, like, first of all, tell me like, where you from? How'd you fall into photography and the band life?
Yeah, so I'm from Bolton, Texas, just north of Austin, and I just grew up and I just naturally started taking pictures. I picked up the camera when I was like 2, and I took a picture of my great grandfather. It was like the only picture anybody ever liked of him. It really truly captured the essence of him, and it was like in the perfect rule of third. It was just a strangely well composed picture, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I've always just kind of
Had an eye for it.
Yeah, literally. And it's always just been easy, you know, and it's always been like more of a game, more of an observation study than a photography study, you know.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. The camera makes you look. That's one of my favorite things, you know, and then that's how I led to, you know, writing. So I played music, you know, growing up. And then so that introduced me to the musicians, and my dad had a studio. So I grew up around, you know, all, you know, the behind the scenes. And then I started playing music, but then I was just I got over playing music. I loved hanging out, and then, you know, we'd have to go play music, and I'd be like, I'll be back, you know, and then, well, you know, and then I went to play and then come back and we have fun. And so then I realized I can just like take pictures and just hang out the whole time. Oh, wow. And so that's what I just did for
so you like basically became like a professional hangout.
I literally am a professional hangout person. Like
I've heard of people like you.
I got paid to just do that.
You know, I always thought it was like an urban myth, like hangout guy.
You know, it took me to like 38 countries.
Honestly, I thought that was like only something you would see in like in the rap communities. Like, he's a blunt roller. He's a like.
Well, I started out in the rap communities, ironically,
really?
like with the legendary, with Mr. Pookie, Mr. Lucci.
Really? I remember those guys.
Very surface level. These guys were the first guys I started working with back in 2008, 2009.
I'm sorry, but how does that happen?
So I play music for a while, then I'm over that, and then I start working for a publishing company. And so I'm art director for you know, like 3 classic surgery magazines, you know, and so after that, a good friend of mine, she was like, hey, I have this creative director position open at Max Media Studios. It's like the last of the Glory Day studios, like a 37,000 square foot studio with a basketball court. You know, it's where Vanilla Ice records.
Whoa. And
so it was just like, and they wanted a creative director, you know, and I was like, okay, that's cool. So I took I half pay cut to go to this, but I just knew it was where I was supposed to go. And it was had this huge office where I set up my like desk in the middle of this huge conference room with one dim light over it. It was just became like a comedy. Like the guy that owned the studio came in after I moved in. He was like, who the hell does this guy think he is? It's just, but I've just always had a thing for environments. I like, you know, setting up environments.
Yeah, no, you create the space. I think I have something like that as well. You know, I feel like, you know, if you look at it for what it is, and you're not going to be happy, but if you look at it for what it can be, then that's like, okay, that's a challenge, but accept it.
It's all about the lighting. You know, I can look like a 6-pack. I have a 6-pack if you have the right lighting.
Contour line. Like,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, barely. I mean,
put some filters on there.
Just right. You know, but
maybe a little post-production.
yeah, exactly. Oh, you can do that makeup lines that give you abs, you know, but
dude, that's my number one thing. I always get asked when I'm body painting, which I know this is going to be a thing because I got booked for Pride, and I'm going to be at Mr. Body Painting. So it was like, can you give me some abs? I'm like, bro, like that's like 20 minutes of my time, man. Like we got to either be a fairy or abs. Which one is it? Not both. Like,
I want a strong yes. No, I'm just kidding. That's funny.
And so like photography, film first?
No, actually, just digital. I came across at the right time in history. If it was film,
how old were you then?
I would have been too lazy to take film.
How old? You must have been like what, 20?
No, well, I picked up a digital camera when I was about 10. I'm 39 now. So
no, like a point and shoot. I'm talking about like a DSLR.
It was like the first digital cameras with a CD on the back of it.
Oh,
like one of those mini CDs.
Dude, like the Terminator little CDs.
Canon CD 1000, I think.
Yeah,
that's what it was called.
You would always see those in those movies.
I just found it. I have a bunch of those anyway.
Those are like a collectible, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you need them to read them.
No shit.
Yeah. But so I started taking pictures with that, and it's kind of just as technology and the price point was right, you know. And then I eventually invested in like a really nice Nikon camera. Nice. DSLR is like a Nikon D3 or something like that. But then I switched into the Canon world. then
because of the color profile. Everyone's colors better color.
I am arbitrary because
better glass.
I just kind of that's my kind of thing is like when I played drums, I like obsessively looked at gear. So I have 5 drum sets, like, you know, and so whenever I started taking pictures, I was like, I'm not going to
see, like, it's just kind of like an artist having a lot of brushes. There's never enough brushes.
Yeah, I know. That's why I can't look at gear magazines. So,
but yours is more expensive.
That's why like all my stuff is like prosumer, you know, just like I just buy whatever and just I kind of use that as a variable. And I'm more of a character shooter than a quality shooter is what I see it, you know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And like
it's cheaper that way.
And so like let me ask you this. So that's how you started, and how did you transition to getting into the gallery scene? You recently just did a show. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
If you're listening, y'all attended at the Sam Lynn Gallery. Will had a show about under a month ago?
Yeah, just under a month. And
so what led to that?
That was extremely organic. So after I toured, I went, you know, it's crazy. I went all over the place and, you know, the camera makes you look. And so I wrote the whole time, you know, and I am obsessively write phrases, like just like, that's the way I wrote notes when I was in high school is phrases, like, because phrases remind me of something, you know, they articulate a concept, you know, and then they trigger it. And so I would write myself emails and phrases like in the subject line that would just, this is a concept that if I remember this, then this will help me out, you know? And then I was out in LA shooting a good friend of mine named Peter Katz. His dad told him, and we were just talking about just words of wisdom. And his dad was like, every time you walk into a room, always be positive, comfortable, and aware. And that changed my life because I came from a very, like, I grew up by myself in the country, all my social skills have felt very learned. Like, and so as long as I remember that, I'm positive, comfortable, and aware every time I walk in a room. And especially being a documentarian, you walk into a room, people absorb your energy. That's why I wear black. That's why I don't want to be a change of an environment than you had yesterday.
You're trying to be under the radar.
Yeah, exactly. It's just part of it, you know, and it's kind of
because you can't influence their energy. You just don't want to be a part of that influences their behavior, their mannerisms, because of they might feel a type of way, you know.
Yeah, anything but a good vibe, you know.
No, I get that because, you know, in body painting, I actually have to, I made it a point later on, like when I first started, I realized that like, I got a lot of compliments and it kind of laid down. I was like, one of the main compliments is you make me feel very comfortable. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, I have to do that because I can only imagine like first time getting body painted, this is a complete stranger. And it's like,
yeah, that's a very.
Oh yeah. So after hearing that enough, I started making it a point to always be mindful of that.
Mm-hmm. To use experience design.
Yeah, because then it changes the results.
Absolutely. It takes us like, that's what I think with photography. Like, so I toured for a while and that's kind of, and then I wrote, so kind of obsessively wrote, you know, and then I ended up writing a book called Loophole to Happiness, which is a 585 word operating system for your mind. And so I converted my car into a living space. And so I've been writing for a few years, just working on this entire concept of articulating compatible concepts and stacking them together and creating a decision-making system or a philosophy, using the metaphor of a computer. And it's like so simple to me. It's like, it feels like an inevitable next step of like, you know, if you use the metaphor of an operating system and you understand like something like religion as an operating system for your mind. And so, like, say traditional religions, any kind of thought, philosophy, is like a regional operating system.
Well, yeah, one's Windows, one's Linux, whichever you want to pick. You know.
And so, if you use this language now, you start to understand the way we think in a whole different way.
Just different formats,
right? And so, excuse me. So, as we've conceived this popularized metaphor of a computer. It's like, why not write a philosophy that's organized and just, that's the framework, is the metaphor of a computer. You're an operating system. So now, excuse me, becoming conscious, the entire idea is articulate a bunch of compatible concepts in the most efficient magnetic way possible and stack them together. And then you can put them on a t-shirt. You can put them on a coffee bag. You can put them on, and you use cultural distribution. You put them everywhere and posters. It's almost like become like my goal is like become like a Red Bull marketing type company.
Oh.
So have becoming conscious events. And it's just the entire idea of using do becoming conscious tours with artists that,
Well, not that, it's like brand identity blended with lifestyle. Yeah,
it's a culture. Creating a culture is like a proclamation.
That's what Red Bull does well. It created a community, a culture, lifestyle. If you think of Red Bull, you think of all these like explosive activities, like all these like just very like contemporary, engaging, especially the demographic, the young community, BMX, bikes, just daring.
Drink a Red Bull.
Yeah, anything daring, adrenaline rush, like that's what you think of, right?
Yeah, so that's the whole idea with Becoming Conscious, which is the company that I've been working on. And so that's kind of what led, long story short, to the Fine Arts Show, is because I converted my car into a living station and went to like 26 states by myself, did like a solitude study, and just like I have 2 books ready right now that I'm really excited about, and I'm just waiting for the right time to release those. But just a continuation of this idea of thoughtware, just thought software. I
like that because it's already like in certain communities, like, are we in the matrix? Are we plugged in?
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. Is like,
are we being fed these memories?
Well, it's like metaphorical singularity is what I think it is. It's like we think like a computer.
So with you having that outcome, what did it do for your creative, like, I guess, hunger?
Man, it's really interesting. Because how organic it happened, I had just gotten home, keeping the long story short, I had just gotten home from being on the road for a couple years, and then the COVID hit. And so then I was by myself for a while, and a good friend of mine, Darren Martin, who helped me publish Loophole to Happiness.
I met Darren.
Yeah. Darren is directly how I know you. Yeah. Because we were on the same.
Darren, I had a little, one of the best conversations him and I had was inside the pool at the Lorenzo.
He's an incredible conversation.
Inside the pool, like,
I love you, Darren Martin.
just a nice guy.
One of my, I love Darren Martin. And so Darren was, he introduced me. He had a dinner with JD Miller. Incredible, successful painter. I had heard his name. I'd been to a few of events at his gallery, premier gallery in Dallas. And he was like, hey, I just had dinner with JD and we talked about you for like 30 minutes, and you got to play music. You got to come jam with him. And I hadn't played music in like 15 years. So the last tour I was on was toured with Jesse McCartney.
So that kind of brought all that back too, huh?
Well, it was funny. Yeah, it was funny because like the last tour I was on was Jesse McCartney. It was a really skeleton tour. And so every day I got to do the drum, because I did the drum checks. I have in-ears. I set up with like Day-Day Hayden. He's the drummer. And so I went up and like sound checked his drums every day, and it was so fun. I would just like get something on the, and run up there and then sound check. But I hadn't drummed in 15 years, and I would have never said yes to a jam ever in my life. It's just crazy.
Sometimes it takes putting you on the spot.
I know it kind of reveals something about myself, but I've just had a judgment of the word jam for some reason. I don't know what it is, and I apologize. I've never said anything out loud, but I meant to that. It's not found.
I don't jam.
Yeah. But now I do jam.
I create.
I do jam now. So, but he was like, so JD's just created this crazy, this environment to play music in. Yeah. He's just building piece by piece over the last couple of years. And so it was right when COVID shut down. So we started playing music together every Sunday. So I just got off from tour, and COVID hit. So this is that, setting up that picture. So every Sunday, JD and I just became like these cosmically close brothers playing music for like 4 or 5 hours at a time, And then I went at the Lorenzo, or at our consulting gig, a friend of mine introduced me to my now agent AK, and she had just moved to town from Chicago. And she was doing, so she was getting, connected in the town. She was buying a lot of art from this guy that just got COVID, which is a good friend of mine just got COVID that sells a lot of art. I was like, is it JD Miller? She was like, yes. And so it was this crazy small world. And so I've been doing a lot of work with AK for the last couple of years at the gallery.
Okay.
And so she's been, very involved with the gallery too, as a buyer. And so she was like, "You're next." Because we were going to a lot of the amazing shows of the incredible, Tyler Shields, who was about to actually have a show this weekend. Nice. And then David Yarrow, he was just absolutely incredible.
Dude, David, oh man.
Yeah, incredible. I just want infinite respect for both.
Yeah. I think that's dope, dude. And like with that time frame, was it ever like before that, was it ever a thought?
No, not at all. When I met JD, I was giving away my camera stuff.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
I literally had to rebuild my entire studio because I was over it. I was writing books, but then I was like, oh yeah, but I also have to pay my bills.
Yes.
And so
don't get rid of your tools.
Forgot about that part. I literally, I was in my car for 26 days by myself and I get to Harvard. I went to Harvard, Mom, but I went to Harvard and I ran out of money. And I was like, man. Oh man, I have to get all the way back from Boston. And so I had to shimmy my way back. Anyway. That's how that ended.
But you know what? That's cool because like I've lost everything to the 2 house fires in the past, right? Okay. And then because of life. And so like the one thing I do know is that like you can always all get it back. So like it might be a struggle because, photography, not cheap.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of like knowing you can do it again.
Well, now it's fun because now I'm like intentional with everything. And actually, I've never known what I was doing. I swear to you, people say that a lot. I mean, I've known that I can capture something cool. I don't know how to do it though. And so until a couple of years ago, I started watching all these beginner tutorials and I felt like it helps me learn what I'm doing, what I've been doing for 20 years. And so it's like, what's the golfer, Jack Nicholson?
Oh, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think he pays his trainer to teach him how to golf every year. Like once a year. And so the beginning of every year, actually kind of just throughout the year, because I kind of obsessively just watched beginner tutorials.
Dude, you know what's funny?
I love them. I don't know.
No, same here. You know what's funny? Like, well, that's kind of how I got into YouTube. Like I taught myself through like editing, just YouTube. But now I was like, even though I went to art school, like I was like, I would love to take a workshop for like beginning introduction to like oil painting. Like just to like it's been a while since, and I could do this myself, like set up a still life and do a life study. Like I don't do that shit anymore. Like what's fucked up is that I don't even draw anymore. And that was like my base of everything because somehow I thought that drawing was taking time away from painting. So I started to draw as a paint. Like I do like my outlines with my brush and I get on this, like I don't even draw an action. I'm like, whoa. This feels weird.
I know it's like tennis and racquetball. It's like, which one am I playing? Yeah.
That's crazy. And so like, what's going to be your next subject matter?
Well, like I kind of see, so my show, I had 19 pieces, which was, so it featured, a lot of the music that I've done. Shot Leon Bridges' first portraits, which was really interesting, to see him rise. Those were in 2014. Awesome. And then, I had some with Jesse McCartney. I had one from the Deftones. I actually didn't tour with them, but I just love the Deftones, so put that in there. And then, but then the other half of the show, majority of the show is a nude project called "Don't Shoot My Face." It's an anonymous nude project, but it's like I see it as this first principle study of just the body, and just kind of just celebration of just female form and bodyscapes, and like. I had a few, pictures, or I took a shoot not too long ago, and it was the last one that she wore like anything. Wow. Because it was just like she had the ones before that was like shoes. I don't know anything about shoes, like or like the panties, like or like there was a string here that messed up the line. And it was just the art of it, was just like, I just want it to be a first principle nude study, and so, but it simplified it a lot too, because, now I'm just like doing like a bunch of interesting things with like just hands and body, different kind of overlays inspired by some illustrations that I saw recently. So I'm really excited about some of the stuff actually that I've shot recently that we're having.
Yeah, man. If you don't mind, maybe when I close out the show, I could slide in like a little slideshow of some of your stuff.
Okay, yeah,
absolutely. Like just send a little link or whatever, and then I could like insert that, and then up put your info for you have a website and all, right? People can contact you.
It's just willvonbolton.com.
Okay. So I am. We're gonna come to the end because I'm shooting for 30.
Perfect.
Yeah, I feel like 30 is a sweet spot. So as we're closing out, I just want to say, first of all, Will, where can everyone find you on all platforms before we close out?
I'm just at Will Von Bolton on everything. And then also willvonbolton.com, and then youarebecomingconscious.com.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Stay tuned for that. Ashlyn, my girl, and I, we're working on some content for Becoming Conscious soon. I'm excited. It's one of those challenging things. I have a lot been meaning to really I just know I need to put out there, but it's really challenging to do it by yourself. So it's like my Ashlyn's been helping me get it out.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited.
Which I'm gonna be interviewing her next. So
yeah, I'm excited.
Y'all get to meet Ashlyn, and that'll give more of a scope of like y'all's collaboration and what's in store. But other than that, man, I just want to say thank you for being the first to come on, because I've been. What's funny is like I've had this gear for a little bit now, and it's like I haven't done it, and it's like I always tell myself, "When's the time? When's the time?" And you know what? Like today's the time, and it could have been a better day to start it off. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm excited to start this again, and kind of just get back.
Yeah, man.
Honestly.
Congratulations. This is awesome.
Thanks, man. And so for everyone that's checking this out right now, I'm testing it out on my YouTube channel. I'm a reactivate some accounts, so the usual Spotify and all that stuff, but I do have another art channel called DROSOL. That's where I would like it to be, but DROSOL Body Art, I'm gonna test it out because that's where I have the most, and I think I do great there. And honestly, I want to see how this does, because there's a lot of people I want to interview, and that's where it gets fun. It's like, who else can I interview?
Yeah, it's a dance. It's fun.
Yeah, man. So anyways, thanks again, guys. Go check this out. I'll have all the audio links down below and his links. So without further ado, man, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
PVO. Positive vibes. This is the PVO show.